first of all, congratulations on a great ending. And starting with Jennifer, could you talk about your last moments as Katniss? And for Josh, can you talk about how you did the great job of dual Peetas?
Whoa.
Fire-breathing dragon. I feel like I kind of had two final endings with Katniss. The one when we wrapped the film in Berlin,
and the one when
with
she
everybody.
dies.
Oh my God. With everybody, and Woody and Josh and Liam and everyone was there, and that was kind of saying goodbye to the movie. And then I had a last scene about a year later with my nephews, which was so special. They played my children. Am I allowed to say all this?
Sure.
Okay. They played my children in the scene that
And
we
mine.
shot. So it was like this amazing closure to this character who I've loved for so many years. To have my family there, my blood family instead of this family. I got to say goodbye to both. Different times.
Yeah, for me, it was cool. This was like the final episode that I was looking forward to when I read the books. Where Peeta kind of is hijacked and becomes tortured and all these things. And it was cool to take a character that has like such a special place for like the fans. Take that kind of character that everybody loves so much as this golden boy or whatever, and turn him into that dark side and kind of explore that while also having the like back and forth kind of being quasi bipolar from all the trauma he's experienced.
Debbie, question?
Congratulations, all of you. An amazing job, an amazing journey going along with all of you for the ride. But I want to ask Francis, the tonal bandwidth, emotionally and visually, has been very important to this franchise from the very beginning. But we see a definitive shift in this final installment in terms of more of Katniss coming into her own and thinking for herself with a future. How did you incorporate that emotional shift into your visual dynamics?
Wow, it's funny. I didn't really think about sort of a shift in visual dynamics in this movie based on her character. I mean, Katniss has always been the anchor for me. She's sort of our eyes into this world, and we're following her, and she's the anchor in every sequence and every scene. And so, for me, visually, but it's throughout all the movies, I'm sort of anchored to her. So we're usually walking into rooms with her and seeing other people talk from her, point of view. And the big difference tonally and emotionally really is just with her journey itself in the movie, but it didn't really affect my visual approach at all.
Rick?
Jennifer, could you talk a little bit, go back to that last scene. When you'd finally wrapped, could you just talk about sort of the ending the character? Was it like accomplishment? I've done what I can with her, or was it a little kind of bittersweet that I'm giving up this character now?
I don't know. I think the feeling of accomplishment will probably happen more when the film finally comes out. As, we're not really done working on it. In some ways, we still have to represent it. And I don't know. I didn't really feel like I said goodbye to her. It's funny. I mean, that's what we do on every movie, is we develop these characters, and a few months later, you never see them again. So I guess I'm used to that. So I didn't really feel it so much character-wise at the end of Hunger Games. I think it'll be pretty bizarre when the movie's finally out and we finish this press tour and everything's officially done. I think that's going to be a pretty weird feeling just on a personal level. These movies have been my life for so many years.
Congratulations on the film. The sewer sequence, how many days were you guys, did you get spent wet? Was your costume at all waterproof? And for Mr. Lawrence, what was that like shooting this action scene in such a claustrophobic environment?
It was absolutely the most miserable 3 weeks. I think in the three
So
movies.
happy you said it.
in the
Was
three
it only
movies-
3 weeks? It was only 3 weeks?
No,
I feel like
mean
I'm
it
still
felt
there.
like it felt like 9 weeks, but it was
yeah.
about 3 weeks. It was really truly miserable. It's kind of a fun sequence to make, in a sense, and to sort of put together and see how it comes together. But these tunnels, you had to duck. We all had to wear hard hats. The water was heated, so it made everything
Poor
humid.
Liam couldn't stand up straight for 3 weeks.
Yeah, it made it humid.
Josh and I
It
were
was
like-
smoky.
Just constantly.
Yeah, it was wet. It was miserable. Everybody was miserable.
And the thing is, like, the
It
costumes
was-
were not at all waterproof.
No, they're not at all
And they had
waterproof.
pockets that would actually just
would
like
fill with
hold
water.
water.
But
Yeah.
it was when we get to the fight sequence. Sorry, we're all just like complaining. But we had a ball. We're very lucky. But when we had the fight sequence in the sewer, you know, all of our gear and our costumes were completely waterlogged. So it was like an extra 20 pounds. I don't know math, but felt like an extra 2,000. I don't know pounds. Yeah, it was hard. It was rough. But Francis is so organized.
Yeah, but it's actually interesting because it's something they don't really teach you in film school, that when you get to a certain point and you're, 7 months into, an 11-month shoot, and you hit a sequence like this and the mood and morale of the crew and the cast hits a rock bottom, what it's like psychologically to sort of push through those kinds of things, those kinds of experiences to get what you need. And it was on time, it was on schedule, although it was just truly miserable.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy with the results.
I remember like towards the end of that
So
whole
now you
sequence.
forget the pain.
Yeah, it was just at the end of that sequence. It was just like, oh my God, we have more shots to do. Like, because that final room, it felt like it was just never ending. Yeah. Whatever. I liked
Right
it.
here?
Philadelphia Daily News. My question is for Jennifer. First, great job by everyone. Great film, loved it. I think you're acting, Jennifer, in this film. Your range shows that you're on your way to a Meryl Streepian career, and I just want to say that your performance in this film, in this series, cements Katniss Everdeen as an iconic figure, like Indiana Jones and Rocky Balboa. I know I have a teen friend of mine. And her mom and dad both have cancer, and she still lights up when she's looking forward to the new Hunger Games movies. And she's like, well, Katniss would still smile. Katniss wouldn't give up. So you do have an impact in that way. So I guess my question just is, this has had such an impact, and these movies have been so successful. Catching Fire, I believe, was the first female-led movie to be #1 at the box office since 1969, and has helped other female movies get made. So with that, I mean, what do you feel? Do you feel the impact, A, of this character, and B, since we always look toward the future, there's rumors that Marvel Studios really want you to be their Captain Marvel. Would you ever want to do that, combine, playing that sandbox with Bradley and Chris Pratt and all of those people?
I would love to play in a sandbox with them. But first of all, thank you. That's the nicest thing I've ever heard in my life. Thank you. I feel the impact of being a part of such a huge movie that does so much for so many people. I mean, it would be impossible not to, and I think that this character is so overwhelmingly supportive of women, obviously, and is iconic. I don't feel a personal impact. Like I haven't, and I think that if you ever become aware of that, then it kind of takes away from it a little bit. So it's just kind of, it's the movie and the characters, and they kind of have their own life, and it's kind of like your avatar self. I don't know.
Yeah.
You
did good.
Question right here?
Yes, Liam. Two-part question here. Do you feel a bit down or sad because you didn't get the girl at the end? And also, what do you think about the evolution of your character? Because now Gale has turned to somebody who's kind of cold-hearted, like thinking collateral damage is in war. It happens. So those are my questions.
Yeah, I don't feel down. I actually feel pretty happy. No, I mean, obviously I'd read the books too, so I always knew that was going to happen at the end.
You did question it, though. You did that in rehearsal. I remember you going to like, I don't get it. Anyway, what's so bad about him?
He's a good guy, apart from all the killing and stuff. But, he gets pretty angry towards the end. He's been through a lot, and for a long time, really didn't have any power to do anything, and through this last part, he's front and center and is able to really make an impact. And I think it all kind of goes to his head a little bit, and he loses sight of his own morals and values. And that's kind of why, you know, Gale and Katniss sort of part ways, I guess. You know, they have a strong disagreement about what's right in war. And that's something that, in the end, Katniss can't really let go.
Thank you. Question here.
Hi, you guys look great, by the way. You know, the Hunger Games series is originally for young adults, and a lot of them look up to you as people and your characters in the movie. What do you hope that young people will take away from this film?
I mean, for me, a message that's always resonated that I think is pretty strong is about standing up for what you believe in, and how one person has the ability to affect something. You know, that one person can stand up and get behind a cause or what they believe in and fight for it. So I think that those are pretty strong messages. I hope that fans take. And I think they have. I think that's why they connected with it in a way, because it empowered them and it gave them a sense of empowerment. That's what empowering means. So I think that for me, like that's something that I really hope people take away from it. And the consequence of war, obviously. You know, I think Katniss is a character who wants nothing more than to not have war. But unfortunately, I think in the last, finale of the film, she kind of realizes that's where it's headed, and that's what has to be done in order to have a revolution.
Nina, as someone who clearly, took this from book to screen and has been with the whole series, what do you think the legacy is, and what do you think the takeaway is for that younger audience?
Well, I do think that the notion of social change and the possibility that defiance in the face of injustice, and kindness in the face of cruelty, that I think young people, I think that the sort of popularity of, dystopic fiction speaks to an anxiety that young people feel about the future that awaits them. And what I find so hopeful in these books and in these movies is the fact that you can create change and that you can refuse to play the game and see your world change as a result. And I think that also the voice of young women and their power to change the world and their world, and to be the spokesperson for that kind of change has been something that certainly Jen has risen to the occasion of, and that I hope young people, whether they're boys or girls, will rise to that occasion and change the world, because we need to do that.
Question here?
Hi, congratulations. I think it's a very satisfying ending. Now, in another lifetime, if they're remaking Mockingjay, what other part would you play that you maybe admired throughout the filmmaking?
I mean, I've always loved Haymitch, but Woody's perfect, so I don't know. Snow would be kind of cool too.
Be hard to top Haymitch.
Yeah, I mean, there wouldn't be a topping.
He is that guy.
Yeah.
Apart from, he's not a drunk alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, that's not a compliment.
No. I just mean his loving sense of humor.
Yeah, probably Haymitch.
Question over here?
This question is for the producer and Jennifer. I was wondering if this one is already set for release in China, because last time it didn't, it delayed it, and Jennifer didn't get to go. I was wondering if this time you can go to Beijing. What do you expect there? Do you want to try some like a traditional Chinese food or some experience?
Well, I mean, we were all really disappointed last time. We were excited to go, and we had such an incredible experience with the fans of this franchise. I've been thinking about it a lot and talking to people about it. Oftentimes when something is beloved, it provokes haters somehow. There's like those two things have to live alongside each other, especially in the era of kind of all the internet chatter. And we've been very lucky in that we don't have the haters. We have an incredibly supportive, smart, passionate, inspired fan base, and we haven't gotten the chance to experience that in China yet. And it's a place to get to go and interact with the fans there, and to get to see this movie have a life there that we get a chance to witness this time is something I think we're all really excited about.
Hello. My question is for Jennifer. Your character choose stop fighting. Actually, it's kind of peace came. So and she go back to hometown and make a family and more like a peaceful and ordinary people's lifestyle she choose, but Gale did not. So how affects you yourself? In the future, you're kind of thinking to going back hometown, more like a peaceful life, and sometimes work to come back to the Hollywood, or you stay more like a tinsel town. You kind of stay there, and making family, or more like a ordinary people lifestyle. You kind of think that way. Or
I think we all have had to find a balance in feeling ordinary in our lives that are, bizarre, and finding a home and, where in a place where we weren't born. I don't really feel like escaping from anything. When I finish a movie, I still like to stay in New York or LA, and I enjoy working. I don't really feel there's certain things that I like to escape from in this business, but for the most part, I don't really feel like going, oh, I'm like going off into the country. If I was like someplace quiet, I would just like lose my mind. I'm sure one day I will, and I'll want to retire and slow down. But as of now, I love working. I love being busy. I love reading or writing or doing anything to keep myself busy.
Hi, Nina, you talked about social change and young women speaking up and using their voices. And Jennifer, I know you just wrote a Lenny letter about not making as much as your male co-stars.
No, that's not. Okay.
And I wonder if you would talk a little bit about what prompted you to write that and why you did that.
I would love to straighten up that I wasn't writing about yes, I did not make as much as my male co-stars. It wasn't so much as a complaining about, I wasn't getting paid more because I'm a woman. It was more of how did my mentality get in my own way of, fighting just as hard as the men to get a better deal. Is that because I'm a woman? As the only point of view I have is from a woman's point of view. And so, there definitely wasn't any foul play involved, on Sony's part. They're not going to give somebody more money if they don't ask for it. No foul play from the men or anybody making that movie. A lot of, things have to be rearranged and exceptions have to be made when you're going to have that many movie stars in one movie. I hoped to just write kind of more about how my own fears of how am I going to be portrayed or how am I going to look or how will people judge me got in my way when, obviously the men in the movie don't think that way. And, even after writing it, there's still, it's been called, I don't remember what website it was, but called it Jennifer Lawrence's bratty display. And I was like, thank you for completely making my point that if a woman goes, and speaks up and is assertive and has a voice, she's going to be called a brat or going to be called, I just don't see a man being called a brat. But I
think that when people say, oh, well, what does this role mean for young women? I think that the way that what Jen spoke about, which I found really powerful as a woman, and I completely relate to, is that, you don't always want or feel entitled to be the spokesperson as a woman. And I just recently did a workshop that was sponsored by Women in Film and Sundance about, really getting to the 50-50 place of gender parity that we ought to be at behind and in front of the camera and in the checkbook. And that applies to so many women, who don't have the profile and the ability to have a public forum. But oftentimes, even coming out of Sundance, let's say, where it'll be half and half of women directors coming out of the program, and then you look to a couple years later who's working, and it's 3% of the women who came out of the winning category are working, and 97% of the men, of the people who are still working after Sundance. And so obviously a lot of that is chauvinism, but also as girls, we don't always have the confidence to feel like that we won't be judged if we speak up. And I think that is really what was at the heart of that essay. And I think it's something that resonates with Katniss as a character who's sort of forced to speak up. And I think it's a really important.
Yeah, 2 questions. The first one for Jennifer, was that you singing on the in the closing soundtrack, that first song that we heard? And if so, was that as a result of the success of the single that was released from the last film? And the second question would be for Nina and Francis, and that is when Haymitch was reading the goodbye letter from Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, it got me very emotional because I realized that he was no longer with us. And I was wondering if that letter was part of the concessions that needed to be made in order to keep the plot going, because he was no longer there to film his scenes.
Yes, Phil was supposed to be in that scene with Katniss. And so that was one of the big changes. That was one of his big scenes that he had not completed when he died. And so that was our change because of that event. And before she talks, I mean, having Jen sing the lullaby at the end had nothing to do with the success of The Hanging Tree, and had entirely to do with the idea of Katniss at the end of the movie singing the same song to her child that she sang to Prim in the very first scene of the series. So it was about sort of seeing that connection with family and with child.
Well, Jennifer, I have to tell you, I don't think you're a brat at all. And I don't think most people in this room see you or view you when you express yourself. Observing your career, and you move through it with such style and grace. But you did it. But you do it just by being yourself. I mean, and that shocks the crap out of most people that hear you speak publicly. So I was wondering if you might describe the trajectory or the ride the last 5 years have been, the best parts and the not so much.
I mean, it's a hard thing to sum up. Really, honestly, it's a job. I really love acting. I really do. So I really just think of myself as just like a working woman, and I just go from set to set and work. And then, you know, you have to promote a movie, you have to work. People are going to have opinions and talk. You know, it's weirdly very easy to kind of block out the world because you have your own. So I guess with the 5 years with ups and downs, you know, there was a few years of getting used to it. Your entire world changes, and as far as like now, it's very easy for me because I'm isolated. I have a new normal now, and so I feel very stable and normal and happy. And but it took a few years to get used to being looked at differently as kind of a very alienating feeling because you don't feel different, and everybody reacts to you differently. But the pressure, you just can't think about it, or it'll just keep you up. So I don't know. I guess it was just a few years of getting used to it, and then I got used to it, and then I was like, okay, let's get back to work. And then people react and can do whatever they want, but that's fine. That's on them. I just have a job. That's how I think of it. I'm sorry if I'm not answering anybody's questions.
I think you've answered every question.
Really?
Yes, you have.
Thank you. You're not listening.
No.
Don't lie. You've been zoning out this whole time.
Completely. All I can think about is a squeaky tape recorder.
Oh yeah, that's what that
That's what it is. Yes.
Hey, Jennifer. Sorry, can I call you Jen? Wow. Actually, for all you guys, how do you? Looking back, and you said that this movie has been your life for years and years now. Looking back, how do you three think that you've changed or grown professionally or personally over these past several years?
I mean, it's hard to say. It's probably still too soon to be able to look back and reflect. I hope I've grown up. I mean, it's much easier to be mature on sets without Josh and Liam. I'm sure I'm unrecognizable to people I'm working with. I don't know, getting it, we all helped each other get a handle on everything. So I guess kind of going off and not doing movies with them was kind of like losing training wheels. And then it's like, okay, I'm riding in the street. Okay, I can do it.
I don't know. For me, it's like always a hard question. Like anytime anybody asks, like, "What have you learned?" I don't know if I just don't learn anything ever, or I don't know, because I feel like I'm constantly learning things just in life and experience with working with various actors and directors and everything. That's the one.
This one's got to go. Whose
Oh.
is this?
Turn it off, please.
Because it's like I don't remember like today I learned this. Like I don't reflect upon it. I kind of just grow as a person and like I mean for us it was like I mean for me really it was like a college experience in many ways. But you know it
Except
was
for the education.
Yeah, exactly. Except I didn't learn anything at all. So no, I mean I know I've learned many things and I've grown a lot as an actor, as a person, and everything. But to really say like something specific, I don't know. Yeah.
I think sort of getting used to like your world constantly changing. That's you know going from one extreme to the other is something that over the past 6 years is I think it gets easier. You know, I think at first as a young person doing something like this and going from one extreme situation to another is really overwhelming. And I think over years you learn to sort of I think let it go and not be so attached to having a routine or, you know, feeling safe at all. I think you just have to let go of that feeling.
You got to just let go of that. You're not going to get
just
that.
accepting that you're, you know, you got to just go with it, I guess.
Well, yeah, because our jobs are it's so full on. I always say, like, if you're working, it's, 13 to 16-hour days every single day in a strange city where you don't know anybody, you don't know your surroundings, you don't know anyone. And then you wrap and you've got time off, which is great, but then you just go to nothing. And
Become an alcoholic.
It's hard because it's hard to find.
Not me. I'm just talking about friends I know.
He's just speaking objectively.
I have this friend.
But yeah, it's hard to find a balance because you go from being overworked to being like, oh my God, I need time off. I'm so exhausted, my body. And then you get time off and your mind is going crazy because I hate waking up without a goal and going to sleep without achieving nothing. So I just started.
I don't mind that so much, I have to say.
So now I just obsessively work. On weekends, I meet with directors and pitch myself or write things nobody will ever see.
It's for Francis, but I want all three of the actors to respond as well. When you first started with the first installment of this franchise, I'm pretty sure you had
second.
Oh, okay, the second one, sorry. I'm pretty sure you had a direction in mind and you had some kind of control over that direction. However, with the success and all the craziness that goes with that, was it hard to maintain that original direction? And as far as the actors, the same thing here. Did the studios pressure you to do the characters any different now that it's successful and they know it's making money? Or did they just let you guys just continue the mission that you started with?
No, I think the my objectives I was able to see them through. I came in and I met with Nina for the first time, and I was hired about a week later, and I had a very clear idea of the way that I wanted to tell the story, and luckily Nina really agreed, and the studio really agreed, and everybody kind of kept their word. And when I was hired, I then went and kind of pitched my approach to all the actors that were already part of it. And everybody was kind of on board, which was an amazing thing. There were no fights, and it never changed throughout. I think everybody was on the same. We were all in the same car.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that the success at all impacts your depiction of the character. I mean, it's all in the books. Like the characters are there, and you're gonna play them how you see them, and so I don't think the success at all. There's no pressure from the studio like you need to be funnier now that we were making money.
Yeah, things
that doesn't really
change
happen,
and develop. We
Sure.
had to grow
Yeah,
with
of
our
course.
characters. Our characters were growing, so certain things we would change with them. But Lionsgate is an incredibly supportive studio, and also Francis came in with a brilliant idea and does a brilliant job. And so I don't even think it's not really anything to say.
Francis is also an amazing director. He's fantastic. There's no one better to work with than Francis. He's awesome.
I agree.
No.
Here, here.
Question right here.
Thank you, Lena.
I said it too.
Sorta.
My question is for Francis. The story gets so chaotic at times and so crazy, and it feels very wartime-esque throughout the movie. But that sewer scene could have been too much at times, but it was so controlled, especially leading up to the conclusion with Finnick. What was your direction in order to make sure that you made the audience feel terrified, but also made sure that they understood what was happening still?
Well, there's a couple things. I think that, I always try to apply a specific emotional value to a sequence, and so obviously this was an opportunity to be really terrifying, which was, that part of it was really fun. I mean, the actual physical process of making it sucked, but that was fun. And so the sort of design of the sort of suspenseful first act of that sequence was where I thought the real scares were. But in terms of making sure that we understood what was going on, I worked really closely with the stunt team, the stunt choreographer, coordinator, in designing the fight and figuring out how to cover the fight where we could hold for long periods of time so that we could maintain a sense of geography. So we sort of knew where all the actors were, the characters were at any given time, and understood what was happening and what they were doing and who was in peril and what they were feeling. And so we let things play out. It made it really complicated and it made it much more difficult, which is why it took so long, because we didn't have the room anymore to sort of hide things in messy and sloppy camera work. But I think it was really useful in the sequence.
Question in the front.
Haran Mamo, Daily Trojan for USC. First of all, great film, loved it, cried about 4 times. My question is for Jennifer. In the movie, Katniss Everdeen has become this household name that symbolizes courage and strength in the midst of the rebellion. To viewers today, in present time, what do you think Katniss Everdeen symbolizes?
Hopefully the same ideals. Audiences are growing up with this character. So I don't know. I hope that everybody's going to take away something different with each film, and as they get older. I'm so bad at answering questions, but I really know what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I hope that they take away the same thing as they always have, but also our audience will grow and learn more or see more of themselves or see more of what they want from this world or this country. I'm really going to do it. I'll bet.
This question is for Jennifer. Just regarding franchise films, we often see how actors struggle afterwards to see success in their professional field. So I'm just wondering. See, now I'm struggling just like you. So I'm just wondering. We haven't seen that with you because you just keep filming and their success is just blooming. So why do you think that is?
After another.
My question is just why do you think that is?
Well, I'm incredibly
She's a damn good
fortunate.
actress.
Thank you, honey. I've been really fortunate. When I shot the first Hunger Games movie, and then I auditioned for David O. Russell for Silver Linings about 2 weeks after I wrapped, so he had no idea what was about to happen. So I remember there have been a few times where I would have really loved time off, but I was very aware of how overwhelming these movies and this character was, and that was a big fear of mine signing on to the movie is I want people to be able to lose themselves when they're watching a movie, not see kind of the same character. This character, however, is remarkable, and in my opinion, the greatest. I think she's the greatest female character ever. So I wasn't, too mad at that. But I just tried to keep working so that people could see other characters, other things that I could do instead of taking vacation time. And now I'm aging like a president. But it's worth it.